to Unity. I am so very grateful to stand in your presence this morning. And before I begin with our reading and affirmation, which is typically what we do right now, I have two things I would like to say to you. One is, and here's what's really hysterical about this. This was a surprise for me. This new lectern, for those of you who've not been with us before, we had this kind of old beat-up wood lectern here for many years. And I'd been kind of wanting a new one. And last night, when we had our ministerial processional for the installation service, and I sat down over here, and I was sitting next to Reverend John McLean, and I leaned over and I said, "I've never seen that lectern before." And he was like, "Really?" I'm like, "Oh." He's like, "Well, I've never seen it either." So thank you, Monica, and our board of trustees for kind of engineering this lovely surprise for me last night. It really is a beautiful addition to our sacred and holy space, and I am grateful for all of you. Thank you so much. I do also want to introduce at this time our guest speaker for the day so that when it comes his time, he can simply own the space. We want to welcome our former minister here at Unity of Bellevue, but also a beautiful light of God that simply shines forth, a person who simply allows the Spirit to flow through him effortlessly and easily. And a man who, when I was considering who I would want to choose as a presiding minister for my installation service, he immediately came to mind as a man who has supported me through kind of a pretty dark time in ministry for me. And I am so very, very grateful for the energy and the life and the light and the encouragement and the support and the love that he brought to that. And I know that he continues to bring all of those qualities to our relationship all these years later. And look, I'm still a minister. And we have him to thank. Reverend John McLean is our guest speaker today. And so back to our regularly scheduled programming. Our reading for today is from our book of the month, The Healing Power of Humor. And the author of this book is quoting an old story. "Rabbi," said the man, "my house is so small. With my wife, my children, my in-laws living in one room, we are always getting in each other's way. We are always yelling at each other. I don't know what to do." The rabbi asked the man if he had a cow. When the man answered that he did, the rabbi advised the man to move the cow into the house. Perplexed, the man did as he was told, but returned a week later to report that things were even more unpleasant than before. "Move your 2 goats into the house also," said the rabbi. Once again, the man followed the rabbi's advice, but again returned to declare the situation was even worse. Again, the rabbi asked the man what animals he had. When the man answered that he also had a dog and some chickens, the rabbi told him to put those in the house too and return in a week. Bewildered, the man went home and followed the advice of the scholar. This time when the man returned, he was screaming, "It is unbearable. I've got to do something. I am going out of my mind. Please help me." "Listen carefully," said the rabbi. "Take the cow and put it in the barn. Move the goats into the yard. Put the dog outside and return the chickens to the coop. Then come back and see me in a few days." When the man returned, he was elated. "Oh, Rabbi," he said, "with only my wife, my children, and my in-laws in the house, there is so much room. What an improvement." Attitude is everything. I'm going to read through our affirmation, and then I'll invite you to stand and join me. It goes like this. "Seeing the funny side of life comes naturally to me. Laughter transforms me and transforms any situation I find myself in. I refuse to take anything too seriously, and I always remember, if it's going to be funny later, it's funny now. And so it is. Please stand and join me with conviction. Seeing the sunny side of life comes naturally to me. Laughter transforms me and transforms any situation I find myself in. I refuse to take anything too seriously, and I always remember, if it's going to be funny later, it's funny now, and so it is.
One correction, Marla. When I was here, actually, I wasn't the senior minister, I was prime minister. Right? You laugh. It's true. That's what I'm saying. Okay, it would be nice to spend my allotted time checking in with these beautiful faces. But I have a task. Oh boy, it's nice to see everybody here. I recently, just 2 weeks ago, finished teaching a class called The Power of Decision. Have you taught that here? Is that part of your regular curriculum? It's going to be, because I have mentioned it. And Howard, I know that you were in a class once that I taught on Power of Decision. And I just finished it now. And there's some vocabulary in that book, like there's vocabulary in all the books that we use in Unity or religious science. And one of the expressions it used frequently was divine ideas. And I know divine ideas is very common in Unity language. And when I encounter things, I feel that it's my task to unpack them as much as I can so that they make sense, so that it's not merely jargon. When we say divine ideas, what's a divine idea? Flannel sheets are a divine idea. Lobster bisque is a divine idea. You know, but what does it mean when we encounter it in our work? The divine idea is the divine seeking expression as your life. And how do we receive that information? My thesis is that God speaks to our heart. Not through our head, but to our heart. And this is actually practical practice that you can use if you are willing to grow in self-awareness. And of course, that's what the whole work is about, is growing in self-awareness, first and foremost, and then learning about spiritual principle so that we can combine the two. When I was in Unity School 100,000 years ago, they talked about the head and the heart like they were exclusive things. And I kept thinking, well, where does that come from? You know, and this is an ancient bias, saying that head and heart are two different things. Could I have that first slide, please? I think this all started with the basic idea of Adam and Eve. And even in Unity, we say, well, Adam is the thinking nature, and Eve is the feeling nature. But what's wrong with this picture? It sets up an expectation that things are A, black and white. You're either with me or against me. It sets up the expectation and a story, in reality, that Eve was bad, and she made me do it. And Adam thinking, I am the boss of you. And so for thousands of years, together, ladies, booing is okay. But yes, it's true. And then next slide, please. A more elegant interpretation of this is in the Eastern tradition when we have this image of yin and yang, where there appears to be more equality between the two. And again, the yin is the interior nature, the yang is the exterior nature, the soft, the hard, the hot, the cold. And yet what is different with this image is that clearly they are not codependent, because that's icky. What's the word? Co-creative. Thank you. Co-creative. And there is a sense of equality. And in the image we can see, even in the yin, which is the dark, there's a little bit of the light. And in the light, there's a little bit of the dark. But this even reinforces a hard separation between the two things. And the fact of the matter is, what's accurate about this, I believe, is that it is clear that they love each other, and that it is dynamic and creative, and that they are always rushing towards each other as they begin a cycle of creativity. Can we have the next slide, please? And then this, I think, is the most accurate depiction of what we're talking about, because there are not hard separations between anything in life, and there's not a hard separation between the head and the heart, only if we determine that it's supposed to be that way, but it is not helpful when it is that way. It is most helpful when we come into accord with nature, which the way things really are, which is coordinating complementary energies that love each other, that seek to fulfill each other's promise. That is the true nature of things. You can turn that slide off, thank you. We do go through life, however, with this thing of allowing the head to be the boss of us, because we're told not to trust our feelings. We're told that things have to make sense. But here's the deal. When we try and make sense of our life, we're using maybe almost a metaphor of like things are supposed to make sense, where, like we make change at a cash register. That's not what life is about. It's not that transactional. Life is an experience. And so the head, the thinking faculty, is there to execute the feelings that come up. And God speaks to the heart, and we ought, I try not to say should. Ooh, I almost did it, didn't I? Maybe should's okay. We should learn first to trust this and allow the mind to figure out how to execute it, but not the other way around. How do I know, how have I experienced God speaking to the heart? I experience it in my body, physically, actually, for real. And this has not changed since I became aware of this, and it was probably decades ago. Your body knows, can make an accurate judgment, discernment about something quicker than your mind does, because it will respond appropriately. If somebody makes a proposition to you and a yes or no is required, your body responds first. In my shoulders is where it registers first. If someone says you want to go to Disneyland, it's always, sure. And you all do it too. Every single human being does it. You want to go out for breakfast? Sure. Yeah. I live in the South now. Y'all heard that? You know that? You want to have grits for breakfast? Okay. You want bacon with that? Yes. From here. From here. It's very clear. And it may take a half a second for your mind to override it. But your body will always tell you the truth first. Even sometimes when it's not positive, your body will seek to protect this. If it's you want to invest in some land that I got in Florida, and you might go, I don't know, let me think about that. Your body seeks to protect this. Because this is a precious resource. And this is the connection to the infinite. This, through this meat hotel that we're renting while we're on this planet, this apparatus is a thing that's connected to the infinite resource that is divine mind. We can take any kind of thought, we can take any situation into consideration, into real discernment. But again, I promise you, even in life's most critically important times, that if we can learn to be present with this part of our being, that we will get the accurate information for us now. And you're the only one that has the right to decide what it is and what it means. Make no mistake about that. Again, what are these decisions that we have to make in life? My child, if I want to educate my child, should they go to such and such school? Well, it starts to happen. Well, there are compelling reasons why they should. But what is this faculty? How is it responding? Well, don't listen to that. This is about money. You have to make a decision here. This is going to affect your career. And, if your head had a cartoon voice, it would be rah, 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 with always that same cadence. Well, I got something to prove to you here. Don't bother trying to convince me. What kind of an educational experience do I want for my child? I want When you tell the story, your body starts to, I want the very best opportunity that they can. You get this thing that happens from your high heart area. Can we afford it? I don't know, but we'll figure it out. Is what I feel is right relationship without ever abrogating responsibility. Because it's all about right relationship. And you can do this about silly things, about where you're going to eat. Want to go out for a quinoa salad? Sure, that's a good idea. Let's have barbecue? Yay! It's always the same thing. Can I be a little risky? Because this may be on somebody's plate right now, and I want to be sensitive to that. But I've been dealing with some friends who are in this particular place. Do I do chemo for a third time? Well, my children are going to be so disappointed in me if I don't. And the insurance company will pay for it. And my doctor says I have to. And what is your heart? What's the information coming to you here? And this person said, I'm good. I'm complete. No more tests. And no more pain. I am glad for all I've had. And then how does that feel? Like a flannel sheet. that makes sense too. This is real. And I know when Reverend Marla is teaching and talking about whatever it is, when we say that this is a spirituality that has a practical application, that's a very... But if you're not available to be fully present, what's the point of any of this? And to be fully present, I truly believe, is understanding that there is a right relationship for the gifts of discernment that we have, the way we receive information. I know that the God of my understanding, and that's going to be different than the God of your understanding, praise God, yes? That the God of my understanding speaks to my heart, and had I trusted it, I would have had a different experience of life. At this point, I can't imagine that it would have been better. But I can guarantee you that when I finally trusted this is when I chose ministry. And I sacrificed nothing to do it. And I have been continually blessed. Continually blessed for the 20 years that I've been in this work. Is it a money move? No. Is that one to take with me into my next experience of life when I'm done on this planet? No. I'm not taking my stuff with me. I'm taking my capacity to love and to learn and to be present. Any work that you do on your heart is preparing you for the next life, which many traditions tell us is a long time. Like forever. So by being present in my heart space, by listening to the God of my understanding speak to my heart as it is, I'm increasing my capacity to enjoy life here as it is and doing important work for the future, whatever that is. And I have no doubts about it, because my whole body tells me that it makes sense. That it makes sense. You know, this love, this energy, whatever you call it, or whatever, however you understand it, you know, it's all around us all the time. The ability to be present, the ability to love, the ability to receive this kind of potent and powerful information. I was going to say feedback, but it's feed forward. It's feed in. I mean, all you have to do is look around right now. I mean, it is, what is the word? I was talking to Ina. You know, the springtime here, my God, it's a triumph. It is magnificent. I was thinking the spring was pretty in Nashville until I got here and I remembered what it was like. Mother of God, the pinks and purples and reds and yellows that are all around, and the billion shades of green on baby leaves. I mean, if you don't get that is God expressing, because you think that it's just the way it's supposed to be, and you're not seeing it from here, I mean, you're missing it. God speaks to us through nature. God speaks to us through each other's eyes all the time. God speaks to us in a million different ways. God speaks to us and me in my life through humor as well. I can remember, even though I cannot remember all the jokes, but I can remember that there were times when, in retrospect, it's clear to me now, I was too afraid of the truth and I told jokes about it. And it was years later that I realized, oh, I really meant it at that time. But there was something up here that didn't get it, was too afraid that that might be the truth. So I used to joke about it. And now I realized, God, that was God speaking to my heart, giving me the information about what really was the right next step for me, and my head was automatically rejecting it. But the vitality was so fierce, it was trying to get my attention, so it allowed me to be clever about it. Or I can think of one thing, that for decades I have always said that, you know, I'm really a New Thought guy, but I'm fairly Buddhist. That I'm not a Buddhist because I like meat, but I'm Buddhist. You know, and you know what, though? It's taken me to get to be over 65 until I mean it. Violence of any kind is unacceptable. Is unacceptable on planet Earth. In our speech, in our civic discourse, violence is not acceptable. And if I can help anybody from suffering, there's nothing to Buddhism other than that. And I was so afraid of that. But something was trying to get my attention all the time. For those of us that have learned to stay at life's table by being clever, and that's me, that may be you, some of you out there, listen to the jokes that you make. Not your sarcasm, because that's just being mean. But when you're being facetious, when you're making gentle humor about, listen to the jokes that you're making. At some point, you'll realize that's what you really want to say, but you don't have the skill. You don't have the language for it yet. You know, God's always talking. But whatever the nature of God is, it cannot make you get it. And that's the human experience. Bonnie Raitt, we know Bonnie Raitt? She had a great song that I can't make you love me if you won't. I can't make you love me if you won't. And God can't make you get it if you won't. That's not God's job. The gift of consciousness that we have, our primary faculty, the gift of consciousness, is the pearl of great price. And the message is there for all of us. One of those great teachings is always, the teacher appears when the student is ready. The subtext of that is, there is always a teacher every single second of your life that is available for you. The moment you wake up, you're now for this moment, but there's always been somebody there that's been available for you to shine that light on your very next step. Right? Oh, I just heard somebody take a deep breath. Let's do that together, huh? Yes, I certainly do. Emily Cady wrote in Lessons in Truth that if God is knocking on the back door of your heart, it's for one reason, and that is so the divine might know more of its infinite nature by it coming through you in expression. I mean, come on. How wise is that? asking to come in, but to be let out. Even in areas of human achievement that seem to be from here, it does not come into realization without this energy. And so what is it for you right now? Probably the thing you're most afraid of, whatever that is. That there's something for all of us. Simply begging to come into form on this planet right now. By means of your willingness, by means of your affections, by means of your interests and your skills. And you don't have to. Because my life and my church and my philosophy is that this planet is not a have-to planet, it's a get-to planet. This religion is a get-to religion. When you think of things, do you go, well, let me pray on that? No. What do your shoulders tell you? Do they say, whoopee? There's the still, small voice. Whoopee. How do you not say yes? I'm going to invite you to set any care, concern, or worry that you have on your mind, because surely there are none in your heart. But set your preoccupations aside and let your true occupation, which is to love and be loved, let that rise up in your awareness right now. And what does it want you to hear? What does it want you to say yes to? And let's listen together in the silence. Maybe for a half a minute. But let's sit together now and support each other in silence. It is written, be not too curious of good and evil, and seek not to count the future waves of time, but be satisfied there is light enough to take your step and find your foothold. Step. Say yes. Go. Do. Be. And do it all in love. For there is one mind, there's one thought, there's one power and a presence that keeps asking only that it be seen, that it be expressed in this world. And so for each of us right now, there is something very important. There's a pearl of an idea in your heart, and your head can figure out a way to bring it into existence for it is the executive function, but oh my, that heart area where God is speaking to us continually with every beat of our hearts for as long as we are here. It is only asking us to do what God wants of us, which is to be more and more and more and more. And so we take on this imperative, if you will, to be as expansive as we can be, to be as loving as we can be, and do it all kindly, to be creative, and to demonstrate so much good that we truly, each of us, will leave this world so much better than we found it. I accept this work for myself and for everyone here today and for everybody who has ever been here in the last 60 years and for every person and soul that it's on its way over the next 60 years. But this is a thread of truth that is weaving us together in a field of grace. And I say yes to all of it. So it is written, so it is said, and so it is. And amen. Breathe deep. So great to see you. God bless you.